Last episode, we went over some basics of crypto with co-host and investment professional Quentin Davey. This episode, we continue the discussion going further into how crypto can be integrated into our lives. Welcome back, Q.
Hey, Adrian. Yeah, it's good to be back.
All right, Q. So help us a little bit further. What are stablecoins and how can they be used?
Yeah. So stable coins there are many different types, but they're basically what their name signifies, right? They're usually tagged to a certain numeric amount. Now, most of the stable coins are connected to the US dollar. So their goal is to stay at about $1. There's a lot of different mechanisms. Some of them use a mechanism whereby they equate the total number of the stable coins with the total number of US dollars that they hold in their treasury. And this can be, when they say treasury in dollars, it can be fungible. It could mean that they're using short-term treasuries or cash. Then you've got stable coins that use technically two different coins or tokens. One is the stable coin. It always says $1. The other one fluctuates in value. And it depends on how many or how much money is used to buy the secondary coin, which will equate the primary stable coin. So in essence, the stable coin is always $1. The secondary coin may fluctuate in price, meaning it could go from $10 to $100. But if it's at $100, for every one of those secondary coins, there are 100 of these stable coins. So it keeps the one-to-one balance. And there are others who just instead of using the dollar as a stable coin, they use a myriad, like a variety of crypto coins as a backing. So they use crypto as its own, value.
So for our listeners or individuals who want to take advantage of crypto assets, maybe they listen to this episode, they're like, man, this episode is very informative, which has been extremely informative. How can people take advantage of crypto assets and tokens?
Yeah, so I told you guys that there were a lot of different projects out there. Decentralized finance is one that is revolutionizing the crypto space and really bringing in a lot of people. So normally people have money in their savings account, and maybe it's accumulating, 0.25% a year. So if you have, $100, you're getting 25 cents maybe in a year. DeFi is essentially using these tokens. So let's kind of do a scenario here. Using tokens to essentially provide lending or liquidity, meaning we can provide our money, loan it out to somebody else. They pay an interest to loan, and we get the interest back. But normally that happens with a bank. Here, there are algorithms that do it for us. There are risks, right? There's a lot of risks. This is still the Wild West. And some of these tokens aren't, they're not the safest, but there are some out there that work pretty well. So you can use like a Bitcoin and go to one of these decentralized apps and put in your Bitcoin, and they'll loan it out for you, and they'll give you back a certain percentage of it. Sometimes there are things called liquidity mining, which is very high risk. Essentially, it asks you to put a portion of Bitcoin and a portion of the native token. So that could be any token. The more popular ones are, Uniswap and PancakeSwap. And essentially, they'll, instead of paying you back in Bitcoin, they pay you back in their Uniswap or PancakeSwap tokens, which you can then go to a DEX, right? A decentralized exchange, and exchange your PancakeSwap or Uniswap coins for Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever. But the thing that's difficult to understand with liquidity mining, and why it's so risky, and I actually don't really recommend people to do it unless they're very, very, very experienced in understanding this, is because your value, like you're not going to, if you decide to take the money out in Bitcoin, of the Bitcoin that you put in, you might not get all the money that you put in there, because the way this works is the value of your Bitcoin might not be the same anymore in comparison to for instance, maybe the Pancake Swap token. Like if the Pancake Swap token takes more value than Bitcoin, or gains more value than Bitcoin, you could be losing the amount of Bitcoin that you have, or your ownership stake in it. So, like I said, there are ways to take advantage. Liquidity mining is a very risky one. A lending program is one that a lot of people use. And usually those interest rates are substantially higher than what we find in regular. I mean, they range anywhere from 3% all the way up to 13%. And something that's a little bit safer but still has its risk is staking, which is basically like Ethereum does this now. You can buy Ethereum, you can then go to an exchange, and they might have a link to the blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, and you'll stake it, meaning you give the rights for the blockchain to use your Ethereum to keep the system going, to basically securitize it. In exchange, they'll give you a 5% or 6% return for the amount that you put in. There are always rules. In this case, Ethereum, I think, is holding off on giving you back your original investment until they finish the upgrades of their blockchain, and make sure that things are secure. So right now, that's a lot of people are thinking that's going to be a year out. But there are others that give you an option to lock in your rate. You have to wait 21 days for the system, the blockchain, to recognize it. You have to choose the server, right? Remember, we were talking about these people who use computers to calculate things. We give our money or our tokens to them, right? And they use it to then support their functionality. And when they get confirmations of correct calculations and things of that nature, a portion of the earnings that they receive get distributed back to you for putting your money in. So again, in those staking and in DeFi essentially have returns anywhere most of the time between 2% and 7%, but there are some that go up as high as 13, 30%. But those are certainly riskier, very risky coins that might not even have value in the next 10 years. So, but on the lower end of staking and on the higher ends, you have risks dealing in liquidity mining. So, but it's a way of essentially getting interest payments from the money you already have.
Or, I don't know if I can say this or not, get an investing professional such as yourself to help out with this in areas where you don't know what risk you're ready to take, or if you even know the right things to invest in. You just talked about how there's a large return using DeFi. How can a listener take part?
What you can do, and I don't want to suggest that people go do this because, crypto, again, is very high risk. Like I've said before, you need to do research. This is not advice. But in my own personal life, what I've been able to do is stake stablecoins. There's a regulated entity right now called BlockFi that allows you to, quote unquote, purchase stablecoins, which all you're doing is transferring your money into their accounts. And it allows you to convert into the stablecoins, and they'll pay you a staking or lending fee, which is close to, but is not like getting interest or dividends. But they may lend your monies just like a bank does sometimes, utilizing your stable coins to lend out, so they can charge a fee when people borrow, and you get a portion of that fee back. And with today's saving rates that are in between 0 and 0.5%, these stable coins and these companies can offer you anywhere between 3 and 8%. So Now, the risks are much higher than in, let's say, a money market account or a savings account. However, with a measured amount in there, as long as you're not putting all your money, sinking all your money into stable coins or crypto, there is some return to be had there. But, again, and I'm not recommending this for everybody. It's not universal, but it's a good way of using stable coins because if they're 1-to-1 to the US dollar and they provide you with a higher similar interest as in comparison to like a bank account, then there's a benefit to be had there. That doesn't mean it works for everybody, but it is a use case, and it's probably the most prominent one using DeFi. So, and BlockFi is just one of many companies that do this. And there are decentralized exchanges. We talked about those already, DEXs that will allow you to do that. And there's very big ones out there like Aave, Compound, and there's PancakeSwap. There's many more.
That's actually a lot of good points that you made. One, the risk associated with it. Obviously, there's no insurance like the FDIC has with bank accounts or a savings account. So definitely do your research before. However, like you said, there is a lot of value to be held, especially with how low interest rates are right now through a regular savings account.
Exactly. And with regular saving accounts not following or keeping up with inflation, you're basically losing money just holding your cash.
You're literally losing, right?
Yeah.
Even
but
like
that's for
Dollar
another
Tree.
episode. Exactly.
Next question I have for you, since we mentioned NFTs, can you help us understand what sense they have for our listeners or why they should be interested?
Yeah, I know over the summer we had a lot of engagement with NFTs. Everybody was, hearing about this digital collage of essentially bit art, like electric art. And the thing is, these are just ownership rights that are transferred to someone, meaning they have a claim to the ownership. So similar to how you can get a patent in the US that gives you the right to knowledge or to charge for access to a knowledge is the same thing as what an NFT does. In this case, obviously internet's internet, they can make copies of whatever. So it is kind of a weird thing, but and think of it, if you think of it like a patent, if you think of it like a singular way of accessing confirming one piece of information, meaning if it can be acknowledged and found and searched for in one singular location, and we have proof that it belongs to some person, there are a plethora of ways we can use those. I know what we've seen over the summer has really been kind of this odd rush to kind of claim something as your own. But there are NFT systems out there that are pretty interesting. For instance, there's this project called Decentralized that created a digital world. Kind of think of like The Sims, but like worldwide. Everybody has access to The Sims inside, and there's property in there, and it's limited. And so people can purchase that land or property and build or do whatever they want with it. And they get an NFT that shows that they're the owners of that land. You could theoretically create an NFT for your ID cards. You could potentially create an NFT for, again, patent law, showing that you own a patent and anybody can access it anywhere in the world and know that, oh, this person has a patent on this. Because right now, if you think about it, most patent laws are limited per country, or they have to be respected by another country, which is actually a debate that's happening between the US and China right now. But
not going political.
Not going to go that way. But NFTs, have this versatile access. Like you could technically, a concert goer could purchase an NFT as a ticket equivalent, meaning it's a singular ticket with their name and information on it to go to a certain concert. So if someone is selling out a concert with 10,000 tickets, they would create 10,000 NFTs for individuals purchasing, and they would all show their claim at the door.
So there's a broad use for NFTs that we haven't yet really seen expound yet, but I'm really interested in seeing the future of how this goes. And for users, there could be a potential time when we as uh, individuals might use an NFT to show proof of ownership of a physical home or a car or something of that sort.
I was actually thinking along the lines of it being, in a sense, it could. I don't know about replacing a deed, but it could be in addition to a deed, or who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, and the best part is you have security that you can't have with just paper or any other kind of server protection, right? So the biggest thing for cryptocurrencies is they're decentralized, meaning they're spread out and everybody has a copy, everything's visible. And the second thing is it's a high amount of security. It's very hard. What they talk about, one of the risks in cryptocurrency is 51% attacks, which is meaning someone has to own 51% of all the assets of that cryptocurrency, or 51% of the population has to work together to basically break down the algorithm. And that's very hard when you have something spread out amongst the populace. Whereas if it's centralized, all it takes is one government or a toppling of a government for that to just disappear.
Wallets. What are they? Differences between hardware, software, and hot wallets.
Sure. So think of a wallet just like a bank account. Um, we have different types of accounts for our money. We have investment accounts, we have money market accounts, we have savings, we have checkings. The difference, and I'll start with the hot and basically softer or cold wallets. Hot wallets are essentially um, accounts that are held on an exchange, on somewhere where you can trade your crypto. So they call it hot because it can, if for instance it's a centralized exchange, or even decentralized, if the exchange is hacked, then there's a possibility that they could take some of your crypto. So a cold wallet is one that isn't attached to a trading platform or an exchange, which those can simply be called software wallets. Software wallets, just like the name sounds, is some sort of software, whether it's integrated into a web browser like MetaMask or integrated on an app. And then a hardware wallet is, again, very simply what it sounds like. So these are like the Trezor or like the Ledger. They're all specifically built hardware. They look like thumb drives, but they run a algorithm and have memory and have a capability of saving, like you save your documents. But that algorithm, that system that it runs, maintains itself and protects itself from being connected to, for instance, the internet or a hot wallet. So no one actually gets those keys or can access your coins that you've stored on it unless it's attached to a computer running and they have the access, the keys, and things of that nature. Something to also note about wallets. When you start a wallet, you're given what's called a seed phrase. Seeds, like plants, and that phrase really is a series of usually between 6 and 24 words, and they're randomized. And that is your password. That's the way to get into your settings. And what's kind of cool about this is if you have a software wallet or a hot wallet, anywhere you go, as long as you have that seed phrase, you could technically install your wallet, like let's just say on your phone, and you open it up and it asks you to put in the seed phrase. If you put it in that seed phrase, it can upload the information from your account, and because it's on the blockchain, and go to the blockchain, it'll pull up everything, and then it'll bring up your amount of your coins in that instantaneous moment, as long as you have that seed phrase. So in crypto world, we talk about this and we say that's your life, so you got to protect that. And they always suggest to keep it old school, offline, on paper, but easily accessible. I don't know how to do all that. I have a little book myself. That's how I protect stuff. The other thing is, if it's not your wallet, meaning if it's a hot wallet, not a cold wallet, then it's not your coins. That basically means that there's a possibility that someone could hack it, and then you really don't have access to your coins, as well as the fact that if there's a bad actor in a hot wallet or in the exchanges you're using, then you could also lose your coins because technically they're not in your possession.
So with the hot wallet, is it possible to change this numerical code periodically to keep it safe?
You can. In hot wallets, though, think of it like this, like they're stored on that exchange, meaning it is the exchange's address. They're just letting you use it for the purpose of trading. If you have a software hardware wallet, you can change your seed phrase. You would have to reset. So it does take a little bit of work. And of course, it is a completely new set of words. So keep that in mind.
Interesting.
This has been beyond informative, Q. All right. So you already mentioned where listeners can go if they want to find out some more information. So the question I get to ask you, since you're on the other side and not the co-host side, what does the term wealth saver mean to you?
So I've been spending a lot of time with my family lately, and I've heard a lot of different things about, obviously the people on the show and just in general. Wealth always denominates some sort of privilege for yourself. And something I hear over and over again are these, 2 to 3 things, which is, health, time, and family. Currency, money, and everything else, and wealth is just really a tool for us to be able to provide for ourselves and to have time so we can enjoy ourselves and be happy with our families. So for me, it's a representation of being able to save what you need and accomplish what you need to get the time that you want with the people you love and stay healthy through it all.
I like that. One of the things I try to talk about often is money is a tool for us, for my family. We use money as a tool to buy us more time to enjoy one another, the blessings that you can't ever purchase.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
Q, question I have for you for our listeners, since you mentioned family. Can you or would you like to tell us where you're currently located and where part of your family is?
Sure. I'm currently in France. My family, I'm half French, so my family is split between the US and France. So I come once a year to come see my father in France and my mom back in the States, kind of go between the two.
So I guess we could say we've had our first international guest.
Yes, in this case, yes.
All right, Q. Well, it has been fun having you on the other side as the interviewee this week. We greatly appreciate your time, and thank you. I would say we would invite you back, but you'll be back on the next episode.
Yep, I'll be here. And yeah, wealth savers out there, if you guys are interested with any other questions, specifics, feel free to email us. We are here to answer questions and certainly ideas for the show. This is another idea that somebody else brought up to us. We thought would be interesting to talk about. So if you have any ideas or have some questions that you want us answered, maybe we'll do a show about it. So send us an email at
podcast@tailoredwealthsaver.com.
Perfect. Yep, there it is. And we'll be seeing you guys next time.
Like what you heard, make sure you rate us and subscribe to Tailored Wealth Saver Podcast.
If you have podcast ideas or topics you'd like for us to cover, email us at podcast@tailoredwealthsaver.com.